So today I am disassembling my BambuLab AMS because one of the first stage feeders is not recognizing whether or not there's filament in there. And just so we're clear, the AMS is Bambu's multi-material or multi-color system that automatically changes the color so you can print really cool things like this, or this, or this, and you don't have to manually change the filament, and you can print like different colors on the same layer. So that's really cool for these FDM printers. So there's no error on the screen. It doesn't show any sort of problems with the AMS whatsoever, but it does think that there's something still loaded when there's not. So the light is on, white and solid. If I put a spool there and try to load it, so I've got it on there and pushing it in, it doesn't grab it and load it because it thinks something's already loaded. That's causing a problem because not only is it not loading filament properly, but it's also stopping the print mid-print, saying that it can't load any filament or that there's not any filament. So far, as usual, BambuLab support has been really slow to respond, not really helpful, so I am just going to go ahead and take it apart following the instructions on their site and see what I can see. So I've removed the first stage feeder. This is the one that's having the problem. I'm going to see if I can take this whole thing apart and see how it works. Okay, so now that it's apart, we can look at it a bit. So there is a motor down there that is connected to this cable, and that motor turns this gear in a circle, which of course makes this gear turn, which turns all these other gears. And one of these gears turns this one right here, I think is connected like this, and this is what actually turns the spool. And then there's another gear, this one, which goes up and connects to that yellow one you can see, and that is what is connected, I don't know if you can see it, to the I guess the gear that pulls on the filament itself. What I'm trying to see specifically is how the filament sensor works, because there is a sensor, something that realizes when filament is inside of there and flags whether it should pull it or not, or whether it's in there or not. I need to mess with this part now. And the answer is that it's a magnet. Check that little sucker out. So that is attached here. There's that little spring that goes on that screw, and then it goes right there. And basically what happens is when here we go. So when the filament goes down into here, this magnet is basically pushed out right there. And when it's pushed out, there's a sensor on this board that detects it, and it'll light up, if there's filament in there or not, and it'll also tell everything else, right? So the problem here, can you see in that little hole where there's all that white crap? That looks to me like filament is ground up in there. Okay, so I got a little can of compressed air and blew that out, and it looks a lot cleaner in there. So I'm gonna reassemble this, and I'll bet you that fixes it. Okay, sorry, one correction is that magnet goes right there and that spring goes right there. It doesn't go on the screw, it just pushes, the spring pushes against the board to hold the magnet in there. So it looks like that when you get it back on. And so this is what I expect to see. They're all flashing because none of them have filament loaded. That looks correct. Okay, now I've preloaded, I pushed this forward and I pushed it in a little bit. Let's push it in so that it senses it and see what happens. Oh, look at that. It works wonderfully. That's all it's supposed to do, is just freaking load the thing, right? So I think one of the takeaways here is that, sometimes it's okay to take things apart and figure out what's going on and see if you can fix it yourself. In this case, it's been 5 days since I contacted BambuLab support. So far, they've sent a response asking for a video of the problem. That's all I've got from them. Meanwhile, it's back and working, right? And it was a little bit complicated, a little bit weird, to take all those little parts apart, but definitely good because now we know how it all works together. And that's going to be really important as we run into issues in the future. So definitely, important to be careful, but I would say, go for it. And if you have any questions or issues, then reach out, reach out to the community. There are other people going through the same thing. So that's my soapbox. I'll go ahead and get off.